Hi, I'm Ron and welcome to PopScicle, where I talk about popular culture, science, and everything in between. Now, it's been quite a while since I recorded my last episode, but it makes sense that I would come back to record a new episode just a few days away from Halloween. This is my favorite time of the year. I love horror films, that's my favorite genre of cinema, and so I wanted to make an episode on that particular genre. Now, I was thinking maybe an episode on my favorite horror films, but then I already have that list in my Letterboxd account and also in my blog. You can check the links down below. So, I thought about coming up with a different topic altogether, but still related to the horror genre. And I thought about the performances in horror films. Now, you have the Scream Queens like Jamie Lee Curtis and, of course, her mother Janet Leigh in Psycho, and you have all sorts of emotions in horror films because just as much as drama, you have such a range of emotional outbreaks and responses to horrible stimuli that our characters see, and all of it is rooted in fear, of course, but fear itself can be rather complicated and can have multiple manifestations: physical, emotional, psychological, even spiritual. And so it has always fascinated me how actors are so committed in horror films, and I believe that some of the best actors in cinema nowadays and in the past years of cinema have demonstrated the best of their abilities in horror movies, which makes it even sadder that award giving bodies like the Oscars in particular haven't been very friendly to horror film performances. It's their loss. Although, of course, we would like these actors to be rewarded for their exceptional work in showing how disturbed they are, showing terror, abject terror, showing helplessness and hopelessness. Not just any actor will be able to deliver that effectively. And so I believe that some of the best actors working nowadays are those that turn in exceptional performances in horror films. So this episode highlights what I think are the 15 best performances in horror films. Let's start with number 15. At number 15 is Sigourney Weaver as Ellen Ripley in Aliens. That very rare Oscar nomination for a performance in science fiction horror hybrid was achieved by Sigourney Weaver because of her iconic badass portrayal of embattled but never defeated Ellen Ripley, a warrior woman for the ages. At times maternal and vulnerable, at others vicious and almost superheroish, she is never less than human. And that's what makes her turn so memorable, especially as she's surrounded by so much emptiness and abomination. Along with Sarah Connor and Furiosa, Ellen Ripley is a grand manifestation of feminine strength. One can't imagine the role in the hands of any actress other than Weaver. At number 14 is Kathy Bates as Annie Wilkes in Misery. Kathy Bates' Annie Wilkes is still the standard by which crazy obsessed fans are set. No wonder, since she made Sledgehammers extra scary, and she actually apologized for it in her Oscar acceptance speech. How cheeky, right? Bates' handling of the Wilkes character is nothing short of astonishing, as outwardly she's jolly and unobtrusive, but as the film progresses, the veneer slowly drops and the monster emerges. But it's never jarring. The transition is unnerving because it's so smooth and deftly done by both director Rob Reiner and the woman who held Wilkes' reins. Bates has gone on to portray more deranged characters, primarily in television like in American Horror Story, but it's hard to match the level of batshit crazy that Annie Wilkes attained. At number 13 is Charlotte Gainsbourg as the unnamed she in Antichrist. Such a bravura performance. Even critics or journalists groups that shunned the film itself lauded Charlotte Gainsbourg for her bravery. The pain, anguish, self-loathing, and terror are also raw, like a delicate fresh wound. There is a certain helpless, apathetic vulnerability to the character that only Gainsbourg's understated and subdued acting style can portray. The demonic forces of nature would not have been as unsettling had a more fiery actress taken on the role. Gainsbourg and Lars von Trier are a perfect match, as they also proved in Melancholia and Nymphomaniac. At number 12 is Nicole Kidman as Grace Stewart in The Others. In the same year that saw her get an Oscar nomination for playing the tragic Satine in Moulin Rouge, Nicole Kidman gave another excellent award-worthy performance. Some like myself would have actually preferred a nomination for this one. Luminous and ethereal, Kidman's Grace Stewart is nevertheless solidly grounded, fiercely maternal. A lesser actress would not have been able to give Grace the fragility that gave the now infamous twist such a heart-rending poignancy to it. At number 11 is Lupita Niyongo as Adelaide Wilson in Red in Us. One of the most recent painful snubs in the Oscar acting categories is Lupita Nyong'o in Us. I mean, heck, she played two very different roles and even grated her voice for one of them. And those eyes, even when she's not talking, those eyes say absolutely everything that she's thinking and feeling, whether as the tortured soul Red or the seemingly normal Adelaide. Truly amazing. At number 10 is Jason Miller as Father Damian Karras from The Exorcist. Jason Miller got a very well-deserved Oscar nomination for his performance as the Jesuit priest with a crisis of faith, but I'd still say that his is an underrated turn in a movie with a grieving mother and a vomit-spewing, head-spinning, possessed child getting almost all of the attention. But Miller handles the character's emotional and spiritual crises with astounding skill. You can easily feel his weariness and his loss of hope, primarily with the slump of his shoulders and the ways his eyes change. It's an amazing performance. At number 9 is Alex Wolfe as Peter Graham in Hereditary. Toni Collette was getting the lion's share of praise for her performance as his mother, but Alex Wolfe was just as impressive. The way he shows his character's guilt and torment and helplessness is astonishing to behold. He's definitely an actor to watch for. Hopefully he'll have more horror films in his future, even as he deserves to be popular in any genre. At number 8 is Haley Joel Osment as Cole Sear in The Sixth Sense. I see dead people. Who can forget those immortal words uttered by an equally unforgettable Haley Joel Osment? Precociously and frighteningly good, Osment portrayed a perturbed, harassed Cole Sear with warmth and innocence that made us want to tell him everything will be okay, even as restless spirits assailed him. He is aces in all scenes, of course, but the one with his mother, played superbly by fellow Oscar nominee Toni Collette in The Car, is the best of them. Here he shows us that despite Cole's supernatural talent and Osment's own, they're just kids. That makes it all the more impressive. At number 7 is Florence Pugh as Danny Ardor in Midsommar. Florence Pugh has the adorable face of a pixie, so the way it's contorted in despair, anguish, terror, and ultimately acceptance is a treasure to behold. The range that she shows here is nothing short of miraculous. We can't help but feel empathy toward her even as we reel from the unsettling horror of her situation. This was another senseless snub by the Academy. She should have easily gotten an Oscar nomination for this bravura performance. At number 6 is Anthony Hopkins as Dr. Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs. Few roles in cinema are as iconic as Dr. Hannibal the Cannibal Lecter, and while several other actors have portrayed him like Brian Cox, Gaspar Ulliel, Mads Mikkelsen, it's Anthony Hopkins' deliciously wicked turn that is definitive. He won an Oscar for less than 16 minutes of screen time, which is the second shortest performance to win a Best Actor Oscar. But that's not surprising given how unforgettable Hopkins made the character. His obvious brilliance and insanity, his amorality, his words and tics, all of these get under the skin of not only Clarice Sterling but our own. It's truly insidious. At number 5 is Essie Davis as Amelia in The Babadook. Is there a very high ranking in my list due to the film having been a rather recent release? Perhaps, but to attribute it to that would be to undermine the sheer brilliance of the performance. The maternal, whether protective or smothering, has long been a fixture of horror cinema, and Essie Davis brings this in spades to the excellent film. She is so genuine as both a sympathetic figure and a terrifying embodiment of the monstrous feminine as she comes undone. That the film was directed and written by a woman, Jennifer Kent, probably made all the difference, but that she had such an amazing actress in the lead role made the film transcendent. At number 4 is Ellen Burstyn as Chris Mcneil in The Exorcist. Talk about mothers in horror films, right? The Exorcist's primary conceit is that a mother is forced by desperation to go against her lack of belief just to save a daughter assaulted by inexplicable forces. Ellen Burstyn's Chris Mcneil is a strong, confident, and rational actress who is also an agnostic. She is, above all, a loving mother. and this always comes across to the audience. So does her terror when she realizes what her fragile daughter is coping with. She does not accept the failure of medicine and psychiatry and turns to a faith that she has largely abandoned. The anguish within her is real and keenly felt all throughout the movie. With 6 Oscar nominations and a win to her name, Burstin has long been one of Hollywood's most respected actresses, and while this would not necessarily be her most iconic role, it is surely one of horror cinema's most effective. At number 3 is Sissy Spacek as Carrie White in Carrie. Another truly iconic role in horror films? The titular character Carrie White, one of Stephen King's most brilliant creations. Long known for her range, Sissy Spacek, already in her late 20s when she portrayed 17-year-old Carrie, truly made the character her own. Shy, naive, repressed, and uncontrollably vindictive. Carrie has an innocent fragility all the way until the floodgates of horror are opened, but the transition is entirely realistic. In fact, audiences can't help but cheer on the cathartic carnage because we feel that Carrie has been wronged. That would not have been possible if Spacek had not made her so sympathetically ordinary before the metamorphosis. At number 2 is Toni Collette as Annie Graham in Hereditary. In her Oscar-nominated turn in The Sixth Sense as Cole Sear's mom, Australian treasure Toni Collette showed maternal strength and vulnerability. It was truly a mesmerizing performance, but I don't think it prepared us for the truly astonishing and breathtaking work that she does in Hereditary. Still a mother, yes, and still maternal, but she's volatile and brittle and unstable. That dinner scene where she unleashes on her son is now iconic. But in every scene she's in full control. Truly an acting masterclass that was very criminally ignored by the Academy. And finally, at number 1 is Isabelle Adjani as Anna and Helen in Possession. We've heard of actors being described as committed to their craft. For me, commitment is nearly 3 full minutes of physical contortions, screaming, and emission of blood and other fluids in a dingy subway. It's having a sex scene with an otherworldly tentacled monstrosity. It's spending practically the whole film contorting one of world cinema's most beautiful faces to a visage of confusion, terror, and desperation. Just as there is no other film like the mind-boggling puzzle that is Possession, there is no other performance in horror film, or perhaps even outside the genre, like Isabelle Adjani's. Unhinged and mercurial, Anna is an actress letting go of all ego. She also delivers a deranged monologue after the subway scene where she says, among other strange things, and I quote, "What is miscarried there was Sister Faith, and what was left is Sister Chance," unquote. Truly unnerving. On top of that, she also plays a different character, the gentle teacher Helen, whose fate at the end of the film is nevertheless as mysterious as the rest of it. Today, Adjani is rightly recognized as one of the true greats of French cinema. No one less capable would have plumbed the depths of Anna the way she did. And those are, in my opinion, the 15 best performances in horror films. Do you agree? Which among your favorites made it to my list? Do you have any other suggestions? Please comment below. I'd love to have a conversation with you about this topic. If you enjoyed this episode and you would like to see more on horror and other aspects of popular culture, science, and everything in between, don't forget to subscribe to PopScicle so that you may be alerted to new content in the future. Bye!